So you want to learn how to backflip, but you're scared, you have no equipment, and you don't have a trained professional ready to spot you. Well, this is the perfect video for you because today I'm going to show you how to backflip on flat ground all by yourself with no equipment. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you some at-home exercises you can do in order to make your backflip go from looking like this, oh no, backflips are so hard and scary and I can barely do them, I want them better, to looking like this. Yay, backflips are so easy, I can just do a bunch of them in a row and it's no problem at all. Step one is you gotta learn how to jump high. In order to jump high, start with your arms up like this, swing them back and don't drop your chest down like this. I see a lot of people do this wrong. Keep your chest up and just swing your arms back to here with your knees slightly bent and your hips slightly bent. Then swing your arms up and push through your toes until your whole body's in one straight line. And now instead of jumping like this, your jump looks like this. Oh man. The next thing I'm going to teach you is a tuck. And you actually don't need to know this, but it'll help. Let me explain. I want you to watch this closely. I just jumped really high and tucked, but didn't backflip. Now, why is that? It's because you don't have to tuck in order to do a backflip. What creates the rotation of a backflip is not the tuck. Grabbing your knees and getting in a tight ball like this only speeds up the rotation that you've already started, which is why it's possible to backflip like this, where you don't actually tuck at all. What creates the rotation of a backflip is your upper body going backwards while your lower body pushes forward. And if you do that while jumping, that's a really good set for a backflip. So yes, it is possible to do a backflip without tucking, but as you could probably just hear in my strenuous voice, it requires a lot more power to backflip without tucking. So now that you understand the body positions you need to hit when you jump, and you understand that this motion on the takeoff is what's gonna help create that rotation, now you're ready for the next step. As we move into the next step, I want to quickly talk about fear. A backflip is really scary the first time you're learning it, and not a lot of tutorials talk about how to overcome that fear. But there's actually a pretty simple way to overcome fear of a backflip. And I don't know why nobody talks about this in the tutorials. Now, it sounds kind of silly, but hear me out. To get rid of fear of a backflip, you have to learn how to fail a backflip. It sounds really silly, but that's how I'm going to teach the rest of this tutorial. Instead of just telling you a bunch of steps of what to do to learn a backflip, I'm going to teach you how to fail each step before I teach them to you. For example, the next step is a handstand, but I don't want you to just kick up into a handstand, because if you do, you might do this. Oh wow, it's my first time handstanding. Oh no, I kicked too high. Oh, now I can't breathe and I'm in pain. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So to make sure that doesn't happen, you should learn how to fail a handstand first. To properly fail a handstand without getting hurt, here's what you want to do. Start by just kicking up really small a few times. That way your feet never go high enough to where you can fall to your back. Then I want you to kick to the side a little, so it's almost like a cartwheel. So kind of like this. And if you slowly work on doing that more and more, then this happens where you can fall and kind of turn to the side like this. Then you properly can fall out of it without ever landing on your back. And make sure to do these progressions slowly, because if you do go too fast, you'll either get scared or fall on your back and get hurt. Once you can comfortably kick into a handstand and fall out of it safely by turning like that, then you've mastered a handstand and you're ready for the next step. The next step is a cartwheel, which essentially you just learned from falling out of a handstand. The only difference is now you're going to turn your hands sideways instead of starting with them forward. So you can use that handstand progression to safely work in a cartwheel by just turning your hands a little more each time you go. So you can do like this, and then turn your hands a little more, and then kick a little harder, and eventually you can do a really nice cartwheel. One more thing I want to quickly point out is that you don't really have to learn handstands and cartwheels to get a good backflip, but to fail a backflip and get confident with it, you probably should have those prerequisites. Let's move on to the next step. So now that you can confidently handstand and cartwheel and fall out of both of them, it's time to start doing a really ugly back handspring. To learn that, you want to start by squatting down super low so that if you do fall, you're not going to fall from very far. Then take one hand and put it behind you and kind of turn it out away from you like this. And then literally just walk around your hand until you're facing back forward. Now do that same thing again, but do it a little bit faster. Just a little bit faster like that. Then try to use both hands, which should look something like this, and start to try to take less steps as you move around. So maybe just start by doing like one extra step like that, and eventually you can get rid of all the extra steps and it should end up looking like this. That's a crooked back handspring. Now this next part of the tutorial might be the hardest part for some of you guys, so don't be frustrated if this part takes a long time to get. What you want to do next is take that crooked back handspring and turn it into a straight over the top back handspring. And to do that, you just swing your arms more and more over the top until you're swinging them straight up. On top of that, you're also going to have to swing them faster, and you're going to have to jump a little bit more. And you're also going to have to push your hips more forward as you jump, because when you turn, you can kind of keep your hips in this closed position. But when you're going straight over the top, you have to push your hips up for them to actually go over the top. So take your time on the step, go real slow and safe, and your progression should look a little something like this. Super crooked, a little less crooked, and then like 50 more tries that look like that, and eventually you can do it straight over the top, just like that. Now your back handspring doesn't have to look like this. The main reason that a back handspring is a progression for a backflip is because that's how you fail a backflip. It's totally possible to learn a backflip without doing a back handspring, but in the scenario that you're learning outside with no mats and no one spotting you, it's a lot safer because a back handspring is a good way to fail a backflip safely. And you'll see what I mean by that as we move into this next step. So the final step is turning a back handspring into a backflip, which looks like this. Back handspring, and jump a little more up, and use my hands a little bit less, and don't use my hands at all. So as you're going through that progression, a couple things you might want to think about is trying to jump and swing your arms more up instead of back to the ground. Start to try to actually pull your knees in after you finish jumping, and try not to travel really far back. Instead, try to push up as much as you can. Because in a backflip, that distance that you're traveling backwards could be used to get you more height instead. So in the highest, most ideal backflip, you should start and land in the same spot, like this. That one felt pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Now, if you've done every single progression in this video so far and you find yourself getting stuck on one of the steps, here's some advice for you. I have found it extremely helpful to set up a camera and film myself whenever I'm trying something new. And that's because your body might not be doing exactly what you think your body's doing. So film yourself doing whatever part of the progression you're stuck on and watch it back and compare it to what I'm doing in this video. And I think you'll find that extremely helpful. Here's some very common mistakes that you might wanna look for when you're watching your video back to see what you're doing wrong. Look at your toes and see if you're actually pushing out of them as much as you could be. Look at your knees and see if they're fully extending or if they're staying a little bit bent on the takeoff. Look at your hips and see if they're still bent on the takeoff or if you're fully pushing through them. Look at your arms and see if they're actually lifting all the way up. Also, make sure your arms are swinging up and not out to the side like this. And make sure that your chest is actually going mostly up and only a little bit back and not really far back. And another way to know if you're pushing your chest too far back is how far you're traveling. If you're traveling really far back, you're probably leaning too far back. You can also always try to tuck tighter, but in my opinion, the jump and doing this harder on the takeoff is always more important than tucking tight. Because like I said, it's possible to backflip without tucking. A tuck should just make it easier after you jump good. Now, if you followed all of the advice I just gave and you still haven't landed backflip yet, I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is you might just need to be stronger. But the good news is there's really only 2 exercises you need to do to get stronger for a backflip. The first one is jumping and any exercises that relate to jumping. So if you just do this like 50 times a day, you're gonna get way stronger and backflips will be easier. You can also isolate different parts of the jump and work on that, like doing calf raises, and to make them harder, you can always hold weights, or doing squats, and again, you can always hold weights, or you can find like a staircase and practice jumping up to the highest stair that you can. Literally, if you practice any type of jump on a daily basis and get your legs to be stronger, backflips will be easier. The second exercise you need to do is leg lifts. And the reason for that is the faster you can lift your legs, the faster you should be able to backflip. I mean, just watch a backflip in slow motion. The 2 things that you're doing is jumping as hard as you can and then lifting your legs as hard as you can. And if leg lifts are really easy for you and you want to get even better at them, you can always do them while hanging on a pull-up bar, and that makes them a lot harder. Or you can put on ankle weights, which I did not currently have with me, so I put a backpack on my feet. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and comment whatever tutorials you might want me to do next.